Tonight, the slow march of a huge storm. Typhoon Hagupit makes its way across the Philippines. More than 900,000 evacuated and more drenching rain is on the way. Seth Doan reports. 6 prisoners with suspected ties to al-Qaeda are being released from Guantanamo and sent to Uruguay. Don Daler has details. North Korea calls the hacking of Sony Pictures a righteous deed, even as Charlie D'Agata tells us it denies responsibility. And the British are coming. Mark Phillips is watching Prince William and Kate's arrival in New York, and the Americans who can't wait to get a glimpse.
I've followed Prince William since I was a little girl. I'm several years older than him. I'm Roman Catholic, but that didn't stop me from wanting to marry him.
This is the CBS Evening News.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Glor with a Western edition of the broadcast, and the first impact was not as bad as feared. The final impact won't be known for days. Typhoon Hagupit is moving at a punishingly slow pace, a total of just 55 miles today. Its next impact, the edges of the storm, will pass over Manila. The death toll is low, in part because so many cleared out. More than 900,000 across the Philippines in more than 1,000 shelters. We begin with Seth Doan.
Waves and wind pummeled coastal communities as Typhoon Hagupit battered the central Philippines. The storm lived up to its name. Hagupit loosely translates from Filipino as smash.
Napakalakas po ng hangin.
There were very strong winds last night. This shelter resident said the roof was moving. Peak winds of up to 100 miles an hour ripped tin roofs off homes, knocked out power, and toppled trees. Heavy rains flooded the streets of Tacloban. But this storm is far less deadly than last year's Typhoon Haiyan, the monster storm that killed more than 6,000 people. Hard lessons from Haiyan prompted the government to launch massive preparations this time around. Nearly 900,000 people fled to safer ground and emergency shelters. Aid agencies said that likely helped save lives. Hagupit is weakening significantly, with top sustained winds dropping to 87 miles an hour. Still, residents of the capital, Manila, are now bracing for its arrival Monday.
Forecasters say the danger is not over yet. The fear is this heavy rain could trigger landslides and flash floods. And Jeff, now members of the U.S. government's aid agency have arrived to determine how much help is needed.
All right, Seth, thank you. In the United States, another nasty East Coast storm is brewing. Ice and snow are closing in early this week. Lauren Casey from our station WCCO joins us with more on this nor'easter. Lauren, what are we looking at?
Yeah, travel conditions are going to turn treacherous in parts of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast just as the work week begins. 2 to 3 inches of rainfall is possible in major cities like New York and Philadelphia tomorrow morning through Tuesday evening, with over 4 inches possible along the New Jersey coast. And with temperatures hovering right around freezing tomorrow night, icy road conditions are likely. For parts of New England, snow is the main concern, where up to 14 inches of heavy wet snow is expected through Wednesday morning.
And Lauren, we're also looking at a flooding threat here. Where?
Yeah, coastal flood watch is in effect tomorrow for the Delaware and New Jersey coastlines, as high tide will coincide with the storm's onshore winds. Now, the threat is highest for the southern New Jersey coastline, where places like Atlantic City and Cape May could see major coastal flooding. Lauren Casey, thank you very much. The U.S. today released 6 men who've been imprisoned at Guantanamo Bay for 12 years. The men are now in Uruguay, the latest step in the Obama administration's effort to close Gitmo for good. Don Daler has details.
The 6 men were detained in 2002 on suspicion of having ties with al-Qaeda, but were never charged. They were cleared for release in 2009 on the condition they not return home. Uruguay offered to take them months ago, but security concerns at the Pentagon delayed their release. CBS News senior national security consultant Juan Zarate.
But even though some of these individuals may not have been inner core al-Qaeda members, they did have connections to al-Qaeda affiliates and other networks. All these individuals, even if they're deemed not to be security threats, aren't angels, and certainly have connections back to certain networks that are of concern.
Closing Guantanamo is one of President Obama's key political goals. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel was slow to sign off on the releases, which created tension inside the White House. Abdelhadi Faraj of Syria is one of the released detainees. His attorney, Razmi Qasim, spoke to us via Skype. Why do you think he's been released now?
Unfortunately, as is often the case with Guantanamo, the prisoners end up being effectively hostages to U.S. partisan politics. It's had nothing to do with Mr. Faraj. Every single U.S. agency with a stake in national security affairs has signed off on his transfer and has certified that he poses no threat to anyone.
Upon their arrival, the men were believed to have been examined at this military hospital. Uruguay has no mosque. The country of 3.3 million is home to only about 300 Muslims. Uruguay's President Jose Mujica is himself a former political prisoner. This brings the total number of detainees left in Guantanamo to 136. 67 of those men have been cleared for release or transfer, but Jeff, they remain in limbo until the U.S. finds a country that will take them.
All right, Don, thank you very much. A controversial and long-awaited report on the use of enhanced interrogation techniques will be released this week. Its conclusion, the CIA after 9/11 went beyond the law and gained no useful intelligence. Not everyone in Washington agrees. Here's Mark Albert.
CBS News has learned the Senate report will conclude that the CIA routinely went beyond legal limits when interrogating terror suspects, including the use of waterboarding, that the techniques were not effective in getting information, and that the CIA systematically lied to the White House, the Department of Justice, and to Congress about the effectiveness of the program in order to keep it going. Only the Democratic members of the committee approved the report. Republicans on the committee and the CIA will file strong rebuttals. Republican Mike Rogers, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, warned the report could create anti-American backlash.
Our foreign partners are telling us this will cause violence and deaths. We have seen what happens when other incidents are used in the propaganda terrorist machine to incite violence.
In today's Washington Post, Jose Rodriguez, who once ran the CIA's enhanced interrogation program, said the committee's findings were an attempt to rewrite history. The report's leaked conclusion is an egregious falsehood, he wrote, but in August, President Obama said he supports its release.
We did a whole lot of things that were right, but we tortured some folks. We did some things that were contrary to our values.
On Face the Nation, former CIA Director Michael Hayden, who ran the agency for part of the time in question, said the program proved its worth and that the CIA did not mislead Congress.
To say that we relentlessly, over an expanded period of time, lied to everyone about a program that wasn't doing any good, that beggars the imagination.
The controversy over what will be released became so heated, CBS News has learned current CIA Director John Brennan at one point even threatened to resign. The State Department says its overseas posts are reviewing security plans in case of violent reaction. Jeff?
All right, Mark, thank you. One day after a failed mission ended with the death of U.S. hostage Luke Summers in Yemen, Secretary of Defense Hagel said today there would be no change in U.S. policy on rescue attempts. Speaking to U.S. troops in Kabul, Afghanistan, Hagel said that despite the risk, the point is an American life is in danger. Quote, that's where we start, and then we proceed from there. Peaceful protests over the death of Eric Garner in most places gave way to violence in Berkeley, California last night. A small group of demonstrators started smashing windows and ATMs with hammers. Chaos lasted for several hours and one police officer was injured. Mass protests are always challenging for police. It's a challenge New York City Police Commissioner Bill Bratton knows well. Today we showed him our video of recent demonstrations in Manhattan. Here's Jerika Duncan.
Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets.
What are you telling those officers when people are in their face or things get a little tense?
We do several things. One, the buddy system. If you see somebody starting to respond to the provocation, get them out of there.
Most demonstrations in Manhattan have been peaceful, but there have been around 300 arrests and violent confrontations.
We're currently investigating the incident in Staten Island where one of our sergeants was punched in the face by a masked agitator.
Eric Garner, Michael Brown, shut it down, shut it down.
So when I joined the Boston Police in 1970, just back from Vietnam, I spent the next 10 years in Boston on the demonstration lines for the anti-war movement, for the civil rights movement, which were horrific events, phenomenal amounts of violence. So as I watch what's going on here now, heartened by the fact these very large demonstrations have been, by and large, relatively nonviolent.
I can't breathe! Commissioner Bratton commends his officers for showing restraint. Some protesters disagree.
My name is Michael David Rosen. I'm not resisting arrest. Justice! Now!
What do you think about the diversity within the crowd?
Out of this, the positive is that whites and blacks and Latinos are able to come together around an issue or cause. I wish we weren't around the police, because the police, I think, in some respects are being unfairly maligned here for a lot of the ills of society. It's very difficult to work day to day as a police officer to find yourself under attack. My mission is really to keep them focused, keep them out of harm's way, keep the city out of harm's way.
Commissioner Bratton says his department does not keep the same officers on the front lines too long. Jeffy says it's important to get officers away from the frustration of not being able to respond to taunts and verbal assaults being directed against them.
Jerika, thank you. The American couple detained in Qatar for almost 2 years before being cleared of killing their 8-year-old are speaking out tonight. In their first TV interview since their return, Matthew and Grace Huang described the end of their ordeal, which included being separated from 2 other children. They spoke with Margaret Brennan.
What was it like when the plane touched down here in Los Angeles?
I was just excited to be leaving Qatar after 2 very, very difficult years.
And what was one of the first things that you did, Grace?
Hug the boys. I wanted to see them and just hold them and tell them how proud I am of them and how courageous they've been these 2 years.
And you can see the full Margaret Brennan interview with Matthew and Grace Huang first thing tomorrow on CBS This Morning. North Korea praises the Sony cyber attack, and police suspect foul play at the Fur Fest convention. When the CBS Evening News continues. A righteous deed. The words of North Korea today over that scandalous hacking at Sony Pictures. North Korea apparently liked it, but says it's not behind it. With more, here's Charlie D'Agata.
Want to go kill Kim Jong-un?
Sony's movie, The Interview, pokes fun at North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un's people believe anything he tells them, including that he can speak to dolphins or he doesn't urinate and defecate.
But what was meant to be a harmless comedy that centers on a plot to assassinate the supreme leader has become an international incident. North Korea called it an act of war, and a cyber attack on Sony Pictures has people pointing fingers at Pyongyang. North Korea today denied it had anything to do with hacking Sony, while apparently relishing it anyway. It might be a righteous deed of North Korea supporters, the government said in a statement, criticizing the film for abetting a terrorist act while hurting the dignity of the supreme leadership. The attack ground Sony to a virtual standstill, crippling its computer systems and spilling the beans on internal salary figures. There hasn't been any evidence linking the North Korean government to the hacking attack, but the government has made clear it considers Sony Pictures an enemy, and it's got a track record of launching plenty of cyber wars for less. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News, London.
The Sony hack comes in the middle of a rough year for Hollywood. Industry figures show a 17% drop in the number of frequent moviegoers between the ages of 18 and 24. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here with more on this. Jill, when Hollywood loses that demographic, it's a bad sign. Why?
Well, I think that entertaining spending habits are really changing. We see that with younger demos and also men who are spending a lot more money on video games. Do you know the video gaming industry has now become twice as big as the film industry? Now, everyone else, they seem to be streaming a lot more. They're paying for Netflix or Amazon Prime, streaming up 60% from a year ago. Television viewing and film sales both down 4%.
The economy's been improving overall, but there's still this middle-class squeeze going on. Wages have been stagnant. Is that playing into this as well?
I think so. I mean, wages just increasing about at the rate of inflation, but certain parts of people's budgets have been increasing. So look at health care, which from 2007 to 2013, up 24%. People's cell phone bills up by 50%. That doesn't give you a lot of room. And you add to that the fact that if you take a family of 4 out to the movies across this country, it's going to cost you about $80, including your tickets and your popcorn and your soda. That's 10 months of your Amazon or Netflix subscription. It makes the choice a lot easier.
Jill, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Movie stars are once again among this year's Kennedy Center honorees. President Obama today in Washington hosted Tom Hanks and Lily Tomlin, along with singers Al Green and Sting and ballerina Patricia McBride. This event will air on CBS on December 30th. And an unusual evacuation at a suburban Chicago hotel early today. A chlorine leak happened while the 2014 Midwest Fur Fest was taking place. Many guests were in costumes when they were told to leave.
We have a lot of costumers out here with big fluffy costumes that'll keep people warm, so at this point, we're not at all worried.
Police say the leak appears to be deliberate. 19 people were sent to the hospital, but all are expected to recover. Still ahead here, New York City gives the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge a royal reception. It is New York's most anticipated royal visit since Princess Diana first came here nearly 30 years ago. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, William and Kate, touched down just a short time ago. Here's Mark Phillips.
They're a walking contradiction, a modern celebrity couple who are also the latest incarnation of an ancient royal tradition. Will and Kate, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, when they're at home, have arrived in the former colonies. And for a country that went to some trouble to rid itself of its connection to British royalty, you might have thought they were about to take the place back. Carol and Claudia could hardly wait to buy their tiaras and make the trip up from North Carolina to stake out their spot.
When did you decide to come here? As soon as you heard that
as soon as we heard the news, we were like, I called her, each other, and we gotta go to New York. But then we had to convince the husbands and take time off from work.
The couple have tested their popularity in the U.S. before on a brief visit to California. They were not outglittered in the L.A. celebrity scene. And royal watchers in London, like Roya Nika, think they know why.
Do you think, have an appreciation of why it is that they are as popular as they are?
I think they do. I think the people around the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge understand that the reason they're such a big hit in the States is, one, to do with the whole celebrity, and two, to do with the idea of an institution that America doesn't have, the royal family.
The reason has to do with history as well. The royal saga is part fairy tale, with weddings that look like they were written in Hollywood. It's part tragedy, with the shocking and early death of Princess Diana. And it's part happily ever after, with the arrival of a new child for Diana's son and his popular wife, and another one on the way. William and Kate may use trips like this to further their favorite causes, but they are also the most glamorous expression of the British royal brand. Ask Sarah Bozak, who traveled hundreds of miles to catch a glimpse.
I'm Roman Catholic, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to marry him. You're going to think I'm a little crazy here, but I have made a birthday cake for his birthday on June 21st since I started to bake. Yeah.
In a world of disposable celebrity, the royals are the more enduring kind. And they're another thing. They're a distraction from bad news. And their U.S. visit comes at a time when there's plenty of that around. Mark Phillips, CBS News, New York.
That is the CBS Evening News tonight, later on CBS 60 Minutes, and first thing tomorrow, CBS This Morning. Also, don't forget our new digital network, CBSN. I'm Jeff Glor in New York. Scott Pelley will be here tomorrow. Good night.